Meet Tom. He's a cheerful 17-year-old with a passion for sailing, a mum called Sarah, a string of GCSEs and a desire to get on in life. It all sounds perfect, doesn't it? And yet, intelligent Tom has struggled through school, and from a young age his teachers expected academic failure. And why? Well, you might be guessing he's dyslexic, and you'll be right. But more importantly, Tom has a condition known as Meares-Irlen Syndrome, or visual stress. For him, this means the text on a page will multiply in a random, unfocused way, making reading extremely difficult and exhausting.
If you got a blank piece of paper, imagine having the words on the piece of paper, and then you look at it, and then the original words are there, but you've also got a copy of those words moving around as well on the page. Every time I look at some people writing, it becomes highlighted. It becomes, I don't know, it becomes highlighted. It becomes sort of black around the edges, black and sort of white around the edges. It becomes sort of like, whoa, but at the same time it's out of focus. It's blurred, and, and it's moving about the page, and you just can't read. And I have to focus. If haven't got my glasses, I had to focus 10 minutes, and I was sort of knackered because I've been putting so much effort into trying to read it.
Once he got to primary school, he found spelling quite difficult, and they used to set spelling tests. He'd come home with homework to learn 10 spellings, and he would find it incredibly difficult, and he would come up with lots of excuses. I did wonder if perhaps he could be short-sighted or long-sighted. I thought it was worth getting that checked out, and they didn't come up with anything at all, in fact. And I had lots of meetings, toing and froing with teachers at his primary school as to why he wasn't performing as well as a lot of the other children in the class. And basically, I think as a mum, I felt I was in the hand of the professional teacher who would say things like, well, he's a boy, he's a late developer, he's perhaps a bit slow on learning, but it will come as he develops.
I can remember sort of times where like going through a book and not being able to understand it, and I think I can remember just sitting there and crying. You're just sitting there, you're just looking at this book, and it's moving about the page, just sitting there crying.
As you can imagine, Tom's school life didn't start well, tormented by the page in front of him, not understanding why. As hard as he tried, the brick wall didn't move. On top of this, he was getting a reputation for being lazy, not bothering, an underachiever.
I can remember we had to do an English test, and it was something like a spelling test, and we all had to sit down and write, and I remember I couldn't get all these words. I'd go home and practice, and I couldn't remember half the words, and I came back to doing it, and I failed every single question and answer. So, and I remember my teacher physically ripping up my book and throwing it at me and saying, "This is not good enough. This is useless. You're going to fail in life."
Dr. Ralph Harkness is a leading psychotherapist.
The embarrassment can be tremendous, therefore you act out that embarrassment. You'll do anything to hide that embarrassment. Your behaviour will change. You might become naughty in order to take the attention of the teacher or the parent away from my inability to read or to write, because I just can't.
Once a week you'd end up getting shouted out by a teacher. No, it's very degrading, and makes you feel worthless almost.
By the time Tom went to high school, he and his mum were at their lowest point. It was obvious there was a problem with Tom, but they were still no closer to what that problem was until the family moved to Norfolk with a new local authority.